Hey, good morning and welcome to Pastors and Pups.
Or Pop.
Or Pup. Hey, I'm Pastor Bill Chu.
And I'm Pastor Julie Greibel.
And we're glad you're joining us from wherever you are.
At home, probably.
At home.
Quarantine.
Yeah.
Some people have made it up north, though. They either have places up north or campers, and they've been able to get away a little bit, which, good on them. I'm a little jealous.
Getting away, enjoying the outdoors, don't let COVID hold you back, and go out and enjoy your life. Or something like that. In a safe way.
I was like, I don't know if that's the advice I want
What
to
are
give.
you
Exactly.
doing out there? So we're doing Bible study, and I just want to take some moment and take a look at the comments from yesterday to see if anybody had a question.
Yeah.
So did you notice any that you wanted to address straight away here? Let's see. Comments. We have 3 comments. Read this post, just a lost practice of resting, one each day a week. Okay, so Sue Peng posted a becoming minimal off of the website becomingminimalist.com, the lost practice of resting one day each week. They had a post on there too, so that's pretty cool. We're not the only ones who are feeling the need for rest. Karen Clark says, I like that I can watch you earlier. So that's good. Thanks for that. I don't know if we hit, but if you want to check out that lost practice of resting one each day, each week, I'm not going to read it to you now, but you might like to take a look at that. It's in the comments from yesterday's.
Monday, August 3rd.
Monday, August 3rd.
Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday, yeah, August 4th, and it's election day, right? Or it's
Yeah. I mean, I didn't
get out and vote.
get out and vote, right? Or absentee vote. I don't know. I've already
Make your absentee
sent my
ballot.
ballot in weeks ago, I think. And then they started sending me all the information about the candidates, and so too late. I already voted. All right. So today we're continuing to talk about Sabbath. We're using the study guide that was included in your newsletter that goes along with our sermon series on Sabbath. And today we're going to look at the Sabbath myth that Sabbath rest is not important, or it's for the privileged, the retired, or the lazy. So I'm going to read to you Genesis 2, verses 2 through 3. And on the 7th day, God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and hallowed it, and because on it God restored from all the work that he had done and restored. God had rested from all the work that he had done in creation.
There's a lot of he language for God in this Common English Bible, and it always distracts me. I have been trying to.
See, I don't think this is CEV, actually.
Oh, maybe I have that wrong. That might be NRSV.
Because I read the CEV on Sunday, and it did not use hallowed.
Hallowed? Yeah, that must be. I think that's NSRV.
Because I never feel like I'm, 1, saying that word right, and 2, what does that mean?
Hallowed. What does it mean? To be made holy, to be set apart, sanctified, bless the day. Set
So holy. The CEV
holy.
says holy.
Holy. Yeah, that's what hallowed is. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come.
Yeah.
Holy
No,
be
I
your
really
name.
like that word.
Hallowed? Yeah, it's sort of a weird old word.
But I did say that in NRSV because I often read the scripture for the sermon in multiple versions.
So, New Revised Standard Version versus Contemporary English Bible, which tends to be what we typically use. I think the New Revised Standard Version has pretty close translation to Greek and Hebrew, but that's okay. You can always read the Greek and Hebrew too, so that's all right. But thinking about this Sabbath, the myth that we're trying to tackle is that it's not important, or it's not important, and it's only for those who are privileged and are able to do it, or those who don't have anything else better to do, like the slothful.
Yeah.
It is important. Certainly, we find in this reading it because it seemed, and you said this on Sunday, that God seemed to know that we stubborn people were not going to be following the rules, and or would be quick to set it aside, set the gift of time aside, and that so God made a provision for that and kind of mandated it with the 10 Commandments. So this was a reading from Exodus, and it's identifying why you are to keep the Sabbath because God rested on the seventh.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I was saying I was reading that Henshaw book, and I kind of touched on this on Sunday. I mean, I've often thought of the creation story as that God created on the seventh day, or created in 6 days, and on the seventh day he took a nap, right? But he sort of does that thinking and says that, God created 7 days, actually. So 6 days was creating the spatial world, the sky and the sea, the animals, humans, plants, all of that stuff. But on the seventh day, God created this time to be. And that's really part of creation. It's part of the gift of creation. So
it's not distinct from creation. It's
right.
It's within.
There was
7 days of creation.
7 days of creation, right? Like he was creating, or God was creating something on that seventh day. This time for rest, the Sabbath time.
Yeah, well, it's definitely setting it apart, but it's a time
important.
it's really a time for being, not for doing. Yeah. That helped me, clarify. I mean, when you said that, being, all the other days are assigned for doing or producing something, but the seventh day is time for not doing and just being. So that helps me to phrase it that way, because I guess I'm so entrenched in the world of 24/7 in that rhythm that's hard for me to even imagine. I kind of want to know what to do on a day when I have nothing to do. I'm already thinking till next sermon, but that leaves me thinking. What happens when we don't have anything to do on the day? What are we going to do today? Is what I asked that question. I go right to it. What are we going to do today? Do we need to do anything?
You ever have those moments though? I always think just like a summertime day when it's not too hot and the weather is just perfect and it's sunny out and there's just a few
like a San Diego day, 72 degrees,
fluffy white clouds in the sky, and you just go outside and lay in the grass and you just feel like you're at peace. Watch the clouds drift by. I mean, even my type A have had those moments where you're just being, and you're just in that moment, enjoying the sun and the breeze and the birds chirping and the clouds floating by. And
I know what you're talking about. I guess the phone just distracts me from that, though, I think. I know what I have, and the phones are right here, or we're using one now, but I know what you mean. I mean, the last time I did that, I was with Ethan. We were swimming next door it was a week ago or so, and when it was so hot, and Ethan and I were just sort of laying in the shade, looking up at the sky, looking at clouds.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think that one looks like? I think it looks like a stairway. That's the stairway to heaven. Right. And she's buying the stairway to heaven. Yeah, anyway, Ethan didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
What that was. But he's like, I don't know. Like an alligator, I think. But yeah, I like those times. That was holy time for me because we were all there and we were swimming and I fell asleep, started to snore or whatnot. In my lawn chair, sitting out there doing nothing.
Yeah.
I think going to concerts at the band shell in Williamston that we used to do. Those were days where I felt like I could just be doing nothing, unproductive. Not, I just enjoy music and just listening. And relaxing,
just being
being present. Yeah, that's a present place.
Letting go,
making sure my
all
dog
the
doesn't eat
pressures
anybody.
of the world, and
yeah, I was not worried about stuff, but still being able to see friends and visit and
be in relationships. But we lived in Chicago. I used to always think that were like the Hispanic population tended to be sort of the workhorse of the city, right? Like
yeah, they do everything. Yeah,
right.
yeah, they cook
Right.
all your food and
They mow all the lawns, do all the landscaping, like they work super hard. But then on the weekend,
Saturday and Sunday both.
they like knew how to take Sabbath. And I remember like we'd go for walks and they're just these huge family gatherings and they had corn on the cob and
Everybody's hanging out,
watermelon
just
and-
multiple families, really.
yeah,
It's like,
just being and enjoying and resting. And I just like, I don't know, I just was like, why can't I live that life? Like, what, you know, like.
but we were walking the dog.
Yeah, but it wasn't really the same. There was something about it that really intrigued me that, you know, they got it.
I mean, it wasn't like they're just gonna go for an hour and hang out at the beach and walk the dog. They were like
All
camped
day.
out. Yeah, it was a full-on day. We're gonna have breakfast here, we're gonna have lunch here, we're gonna have dinner here, and we're just gonna play soccer out here on the beach. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I fall in these traps. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a sense that you have to be working all the time. I don't know, to protect your livelihood. Like, I mean, I feel like we're in this, like, competitive, you know, if you're not going to work 7 days a week, somebody else out there is going to work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? And so in order to be competitive, right, like, you have to be working all the time. I buy into that a little bit. What was the other things like, you know, it's for the privileged, you know, for sure. You know, there are people who, you know, they're single parents and, you know, so they're taking care of all of the household and family duties and holding down 2 jobs sometimes. And so just to keep things going, it's really difficult to carve out time for rest. And then it's for retired. I mean, I fall into that trap all the time, right? Like, it's like delaying living your life. Like, in retirement, I'll do these things, right? And you just, like, put off living life and being, you know, for all of this other stuff.
For what? You know,
Right, for what? Exactly. And then, you know, and then I often wonder, and for sure the pandemic has, like, brought this home a little bit more for me, you know, like, will I even be alive for retirement, you know, like, I could get the coronavirus and die, and, like, all that stuff that I thought I'll do when I'm retired, right?
Well, one thing I know about, or I've learned about retirement since my parents have been retired now for like 10 years or 15 years or something, is they're busy, you know, like they don't have time to do
Yeah, they're still not
anything.
taking Sabbath.
They're not,
That's why it's a spiritual problem and not
so
right, it really is. It's why.
but if you're not careful, you have to be intentional. So, my point. I mean, you'll keep putting it off even in retirement if you don't do it. And like, I think there are things that my dad has got to do that he would not have gotten to do in his work-a-day life. You know, like he's become a bridge master champion. Or whatever. But I mean, so that's kind of cool. And I think, you know, they've made trips that they always wanted to do. So, and I don't want to throw too much shade on them that they do take Sabbath.
But I mean, it's not just your parents. I hear retired people say that all the time.
They're
Like,
busier than they ever have.
busier now that I'm retired than when I was working.
But maybe that's a good thing though too. I mean, that, like, you know, God has called you. That's what I'm saying. It's like the importance of it, the Sabbath. You know, I hope that we will do this sermon series on work and God's call and claim on your life, but and that if we're even retired people are working somehow, you know, because God calls them to something, and you know they have busy schedules, and so they have to be intentional about keeping Sabbath as well.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the stuff that God has called them to is to attend to and be intentional about those relationships that they've been given and that they've maybe had to put off. But you know, if you're putting it off, you gotta like practice Sabbath, I think.
Right. I think if you can't get it right now when you're working, you're not going to get it right when you're retired.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for crystallizing my thoughts most eloquently.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. And so,
because it's not a calendaring issue, right?
Uh-huh.
Like buying a calendar and keeping track of your time isn't going to fix the issue, right? It's a spiritual issue of not accepting this gift of rest that God has.
I think tracking your time isn't not going to help you. I mean, but it's not only going to help you. You know, it's not the only thing that's going to help you. I mean, I think that people who are going to be serious about Sabbath ought to be serious about paying attention to time.
No.
Yeah. And, you know, keeping boundaries around a day.
You can keep track of your time all the live long day and still not have any Sabbath.
Especially if you're looking at it like, what have I done in these hours?
Right.
You know, like, or what has been produced in these hours? And if nothing's produced, it's not worth it.
The calendar only helps you in that you're prepared to take time to rest.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. So, yeah. So then for the lazy, you know, if you're lazy, you probably aren't taking Sabbath very well either, because you're not even paying any attention, or you know, you're just not making any effort. And I think Sabbath is effort. That's what I'm saying. Like, it takes trying and failing and trying and succeeding in order to get it right. And if you're not, you know, if you're lazy, you don't take the effort to do that either. And so,
I would say it's like you feel like you're lazy if you take Sabbath.
Oh, you feel like it? Well, that's
right. Like that's.
But I'm not taking Sabbath because
that's the gradual curse right there, right? Like,
you're lazy if you're taking Sabbath.
Like, my dad literally maybe can make it 10 minutes sitting and talking to us.
Yeah.
When we go to visit, and he really wants us to go visit, but you get about 10 minutes, and then he's got to go mow the lawn or fix something or
putz around.
Putz around. Yeah, he's a putzer, is what we say. But I mean, his dad was a putzer. It is going to be a battle that I will have to fight for sure, because it's hard for me to just sit and be. So. And I think it is like this. You gotta be doing something. If you're not doing something, you're just being lazy, or you know, like then your time doesn't have value if you're not producing something in that time.
Well, we'll get to that on Friday this week, about finding your worth. You know, not in the production, but finding your worth in the being. You know, that's going to be cool. But that's a good point. You know, like that we spend a lot of our energies trying to find our value in our production.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and then being lazy, not wanting to be lazy.
So when I'm like,
judgment.
And usually it's probably the other way around, but occasionally you're busy doing something and I'm trying to rest, and then I can't do it because I'm letting everybody down because I'm resting. There's like lots of things that need to be done. I should get up and do something. I'm just being lazy.
You feel that way?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't ever feel that way. That's what you were about to complain.
Well, vice versa. I have to say that sometimes I'm guilty when I'm running around busy doing stuff and you're not doing anything. And I'm like, dang, he's lazy. Why isn't he doing anything? Right? Like, I totally buy into that. I'm confessing that, you know.
Well, you know, my friend Tom.
That is not accurate, but it is the way that it's like, it's my go-to way of thinking.
Rudy Rasmus said he has the spiritual gift. Oh, no, that's just a different one. So, not Rudy Rasmus, but my friend Tom Arthur tells me that I have the spiritual gift of hanging out. And I guess I bothered him on days that he felt like he needed to be getting something done. And I'm just like, oh, you know, let's just hang out. And he's like, well, I don't want to get in front of you. I don't want to get ahead of your schedule. Like, hey, what do I got to do? I gotta hang out with you. So we'll just spend time talking over a cup of coffee or at the bar or whatever, and just, you know, we spend way more time than he had. Well, you know, he's like a master at keeping his time, you know, like, and so he is like spending way more time than he had allotted. And he's like, what's one of your spiritual gifts is hanging out.
Hanging out. I mean, it is a real American problem, I think. I mean, you know, if you ever travel to other countries, you know, like there's a different rhythm and less of an urgency to get things
Yeah,
done.
definitely in the Caribbean.
Right.
I mean,
it's been like that a lot of places I go. I mean, the same in South Africa,
right.
you know, like.
Well, it's just so hot, and you get like, you can't, this is what we're going to do today. That's it. And I'm like, come on, man. We can get another kitchen built here. Let's do it to it, you know. You got that chainsaw, just cut the wall. That's how they do cutting in Guatemala. With chainsaws. It's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, it was a little dangerous. At some point, I was like nailing in boards on one side of the house, and all of a sudden, this chainsaw blade comes like within, you know, a few inches of me, trimming the boards on.
We're off the rails here. So taking a break, taking rest, and like, you know, again, what was it? The last place that I was on, well, not the last place I was on a mission trip. One time I was on a mission trip, and we must have like, we're working on a foundation, and you know, we're laying brick for the foundation, and we must have laid this wall, you know, 8 times in 2 or 3 hours or whatever, and you know, finally we get it done, and actually the next day we finally got it done, and I'm just going, this is not, this is so much work to do for these experts, because the experts were coaching us through it, you know, and I don't know if they weren't really experts, they're Habitat for Humanity people, but you know, they knew how to do it, and we get it done right, and I go, I'm so grateful that you took so much time for us to help us on this wall. I know you could have just done it in 15 minutes, and it took us, you know, a day and a half. And he says, he goes, hey, Bill, we're not just building walls here. We're building relationships. You know, we're building community. And it was so important to hear that, because, you know, so, I mean, it's not always about being productive is what I'm trying to get at, you know. And you know, you need to take rest, because you're not just building widgets. You know, you're building relationships. You're building you're attending to your relationship with God. You're attending to your relationship with others. And that is important. It's not like it's not important. It is important. And I mean, and I think that, and still, I fail, you know, to do that. You know, it's like you were just talking to me, and I was trying to get next week's Bible study together, and you know, you just want to share your day, and I'm like, hey man, I just want to rock this out so that maybe after I get done with this, I can be with you to share your day. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm writing a thing about taking rest and attending to relationships while ignoring the relationship that's in the room. You know, I just need to close this and listen. And but it's so hard. I mean, even if you're writing something about trying to inspire people to rest.
All right, so I like that. I think we should end on that we're not just building walls, we're building relationships.
And that's why it's important. And Sabbath is important. And so it's not just about producing stuff. It's about being and enjoying the stuff and enjoying God.
Yeah. Okay. You want to use the prayer in here?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You want me to pray?
Yeah, please.
Okay, let us pray. God, thank you for the gift of time and for rest. Help us to cherish this gift with all of our being. Renew us on the 7th day for your miraculous work in the world. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and ask your questions, have your feedback in the comments below so we can cover it tomorrow.
Awesome.